So these verses, like, it's just more and more bracha. It says, your grain should be blessed, and your grapes should be blessed, and your oil should be blessed, and your oxen should be blessed, and your sheep should be blessed on the land that Hashem has chosen to give to your ancestors and to give to you. Al ha'adama asher nishba la'avotecha latet lach. That he swore to our ancestors to give it to us. Baruch tiyeh mikol ha'amim. What does it mean to be blessed of all the nations? They don't understand it, but at least we should. It means to be the tzinor. It means to be the conduit of bracha. What else could it mean? To be so humble, to be so self-effacing that we become worthy of becoming a conduit of bracha, of blessing. When I met Baba Sali for the first time, it was a Hanukkah story. We're getting close to Hanukkah later. I can tell my Hanukkah story. I went on a pilgrimage. It was my first year in yeshiva, 1974. I got there during the Omer to Yerushalayim. And I had started in Los Angeles 2 years before, after I graduated college. I met Shlomo. And those 2 years were very important. Sometimes going to the House of Little Prayer in San Francisco. I came to Shlomo's wedding in New York. I was really feeling connected. It was a rainy night that night. He got married in that thing that goes up like this. It's like there's no building beneath. It's just this strange structure. And they got married on top of it. You know where that is? Yeah. In Queens? Anybody?
Yeah.
Huh?
I
don't know. All I know is that when I was driving my aunt's car, it was raining and I had to get off the road, and the road went this way and I went this way, and onto the mud. It was a weird thing, but I finally got to the wedding. Anyway, those 2 years were really special, and then it was during those 2 years my father was ill, and when my father, Alav Shalom, passed away, so I said to my mom, I think I want to go to Israel to learn yeshiva. And so by the Omer time, I was off. After Pesach, I was off to Israel. I came here to New York for 2 weeks, and I went to Israel. I went to yeshiva for the first time. I was the age of 25. It was a little hard, to say the least, but it was powerful. You know, yeshiva is like, the Torah is very special, but sometimes people put a spin on it, right? They put a spin on their Torah. I was very sensitive to that. I really felt my own Torah. I told this over to you on the way up to the retreat last week. So anyway, I'm in yeshiva, but by Hanukkah time, I'm plotting. I don't know what to do. There's something is wrong. Something is going on inside of me. I wrote a lot of stuff out, but I still wasn't able to clean it out. So I called up a dear friend and said I want to go see some tzaddikim. So we met at the Ritchie's house in Beit-Vegan. Anybody know Josh and Lily Ritchie? So we met there, myself and Peretz, an old friend, Peretz Greenspan. So we went off and we got to Netivot on the second night of Hanukkah. And we knocked on the door of Baba Sali. And his granddaughter came to the door and we said, we'd like to see the tzaddik. And she says, he doesn't see anybody now. We said, well, can we come back tomorrow morning? He says, no, he doesn't see on Friday morning. We said, but we have to go to Bnei Brak for Shabbat, and really this is the only time we can be here. So she went in and came back, and she came back to the door and she said, okay, come back tomorrow morning. So that night, we went to stay in the yeshiva, which was the famous yeshiva called Yeshivat HaNegev. And they were so nice to us, and they welcomed us in, and they gave us a room. I don't know how this happened. And they said, you know what, tonight is a Hachnasat Sefer Torah. There'll be music and dancing and a meal and a class. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to be with people, you know. But somehow they invited us to it, and it was this big thing. And we lit, of course, we lit that night. Every night was a lighting that was like very special. So, what I'm asking you to do is to come with me on my inner struggle, my inner trip, my inner journey, my Hanukkah journey, to get the light. Wanting the light so much, wanting to feel the light, feeling that being in Israel for the first time and being in Yerushalayim, and it was just amazing, and yet somehow the darkness was closing in around me. I didn't feel that I could stay in that yeshiva. So here I was in Netivot. We slept, we got up the next morning, we knocked on the door, and she let us in, Baba Sally's granddaughter. And she ushered us into his bedroom. He was sitting up on his bed. It was a twin bed. Nobody else seemed to be in the house. So he was sitting on his bed here, sitting up, with his leg up like this, with a book on his knee. And he had long white fingers like El Greco paintings. And he had a very beautiful white face. And he had a white thing coming up here over. And he was looking at his book. We sat on the bed over here. And so we waited. And finally he looked over at us. And then he looked back in his book. And then he looked at his granddaughter, and she came and she whispered in his ear, these two boys came to get a blessing. So he looked at us again, looked back in the book, and then he started speaking in Moroccan Arabic. And it felt like jet planes going over our heads. And I said, Enli dat, I don't have consciousness. That was my plea. Please help me have consciousness. And my friend, Peretz, who spoke even less Hebrew than me, I said, Zipu. He has to get married. So, but this was all during like these jets flying over our heads. And when he stopped, he went back to read his book. And his granddaughter motioned to us, okay, it's over, you gotta go. So I was like, so we backed out, and I remember that Shlomo had been in Los Angeles once and had told us the stories that he used to tell about when you went into somebody's house and you couldn't even tell who the owner of the house was because there was so much offering and giving and standing and helping everybody, you know, and not making like they're the owner, because the more you give your house away, the more your house becomes yours. Which was really one of the last things he did in Phoenix. He did about Eretz Yisrael. He says, who's the real owner of Eretz Yisrael? Hashem. And he gave it to us. And how do you know? Because we're inviting the whole world there. And you can tell what the others want. They don't want anybody to come. When somebody wants only for themselves, then you can know that it's not theirs. Anybody ever see that film? It was a very powerful thing. Phoenix. It was a video made in Phoenix by Grafstein. So here we were. I had learned that, I had heard that, and now I was blessing the tzaddik. The blessing of the tzaddik who blessed me, because the more you bless back the one who's blessed you, the more you become blessed. And it just felt so natural to bless back this conduit, this pure conduit of blessing, who had such amazing powers, and who was so not into himself. To be a blessing to others, be a blessing to others. So we went on our way. Can I tell you a little bit more of the story? We went to Bnei Brak. We went to a rabbi who had already met. He's a Yemenite rabbi, Rabbi Shimon Ba'adani. Rabbi Shimon Ba'adani was already then a very special man, but he was still at least on like a level where he led a